So we're 20 seconds out. Here we go. Okay, it looks like I'm looking at a little bit of a lag time here. Welcome once again to Jason's Draw and Paint Club. Here we go. What are we doing this week? Great, I'm so glad you asked. We are working on a floral and a landscape, and I realize that my music is a little bit loud right now, so we'll bring that down. So let's take a peek, shall we? We are going to be working on this lovely floral photo. And I'm having trouble seeing what's being broadcast, but that's okay. I'm hoping that it's getting broadcast properly. And we'll also be working on this wonderful little landscape piece that I have. Hoping that you guys can see this. Right now, I am not seeing anything. I'm going to switch cameras and see what happens. Maybe we can get a little bit more going on with the razor. Going on there. And here we go. Hey, look, I've got something going on there. All right. So we're starting off with the floral tonight. I had some folks say that they wanted the floral. I had originally thought that we were going to do a floral tonight, but I also want to get a landscape done. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably kind of like start both of them, and then we'll probably end and finish both of them next week. So let's start with the floral. So let's bring up the floral and bring down that and bring up, well, let's bring up the canvas, because that's kind of important, right? We'd want to see the canvas. Come on, Jay, we want to see the canvas. Well, I don't know what's going on with Haps tonight, but it is going slowly. So we're just going to have to wait for it to catch up with us, because we're just too fast. That's all there is to it. All right, let's see if it works now. We just kind of like refreshed a little bit. Haps is having some fun with me tonight. Okay, well, we're in the wrong order, but that's all right. We're here. Let's get in the right order now. The canvas should really be on the big screen. We interrupt this program with scheduled maintenance. Not really, but we ended up with, for some reason, having a little bit of a glitch here with stuff. So, looks like we're settled. Let's hope that Haps holds out, as we are going to start working on our little daylily here. So, one of the things I want to talk about is how much I absolutely adore daylilies, because I don't know why. I just really like them. They're very expressive little flowers, and there's a lot to them. But you see in the background, we've got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm starting with a tan and brown based canvas. The tan and brown based canvas that I put together here is actually not quite tan and brown. It is, almost like an off-white and an umber. And then I went ahead, and those are latex paints that I have right there. So they've got kind of a little bit of a sheen to them. They'll come through a little bit. It's all good. I'm good with that. And we are going to start by playing, I think I had too much light on top here. Let's bring that down a little bit. We're going to start by playing with a little bit of Theta Saline and Permanent Green. And we are working with primarily golden colors tonight. Golden artist colors, the choice for artists. No, actually, I just really like their heavy body acrylics. And their new line of So-Flats is really super cool. I highly recommend them if you are an artist and you're looking for a unique tool to work with. They're great, especially if you're already a golden user, because if you already use golden products, the colors match perfectly. And they're a little bit more fluid. They're a lesser heavy body. But what you'll find is that they go right along with your current collection of Goldens. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going to start kind of trimming in a little bit of background here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use my dagger brush here and kind of, just I'm going to add in some little bits in a mixture of Theta Saline and Permanent Green. I am doing all the no-nos today. I'm not painting the whole background first. And part of it is because I just want to play with a different sort of way around this. Now, I don't know if you all can see it, but this canvas is taped off in certain areas. And the reason it's taped off is because I am working on a new series where we are looking through like window structures. Normally they're like an Art Deco window structure. And I've been having a lot of fun with metallics. Thinking about leaded glass and different methodologies of viewpoints. Now, again, I don't know what you're seeing because it looks like HAPS is finally catching up with me, and then it'll go dark for a second on my end. Let's see if I can get a better coloration. There we go. Daylight bulb to the rescue. All right. And so I'm going to leave the daylily without color on it right now. And I'm hitting kind of a mid-tone. This is like a middle green. Again, it's a combination of Permanent Green and the Theta Saline. So I've got a really nice combo of middle range greens grit there to kind of like drive forward this whole thing, because that's kind of where we want to end up when we're doing bases on backgrounds. I've got the underpainting of the brown, so that'll help, and then really working in these other components. And I am going to go over some of my lines when it comes to like the grass portions or the blooms, etc., etc. And I'm doing that because, staying away from the flower itself, that's going orange. The other things are variants of green, so I'm not as worried about them. And I'm going to be playing around with yellows and greens and, oranges and reds. A few little other browns. And again, this is phase 1 tonight. We are going to work on this floral real quick. And get this started, and then I'm going to move on to a landscape this evening. And what I'll do is I'll kind of work on them simultaneously. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to have to wait in between layers drying to do what I need to do. So what I'm doing here is kind of what I would do in studio normally. I'm not working wet on wet with these pieces. I'm working, in kind of a different technique entirely with this. So I want to make sure that I've got what I need where I need it. And I'm going to kind of hit these layers bit by bit when it comes to this daylily. So right now, I'm going to leave the daylily alone with the green starter on that, because that's about as far as I'm going to get with her right now. I will be back to that tonight, I promise. So we're going to take down that picture and we're going to put up what we're actually going to use. And you'll probably see them like fade on and off with each other here. And I'm starting with a gray gessoed canvas. I don't think I should talk into my water bottle, but I'm going to anyway. All right, as we start this one, just a reminder, if you're not already subscribed, we'd love to have you subscribe. Please come and subscribe to us. Us, by us, I mean me. It's just one of those things where if you subscribe, it does help things out. If you are on Haps, you can subscribe to me on that platform. You can subscribe to me on YouTube, on Facebook. You can find me at The Art of Jason Robert LeClaire or Jason Robert LeClaire. I'll be on Twitter at Jason_LeClaire, because Jason Robert LeClaire is too many letters. And on Twitch, I'm at Jason Robert LeClaire. So it's relatively easy to find me on any platform. So let's get started with our friendly neighborhood, Horizon. Okay. So I wanted to draw for you guys first on this one. And the horizon comes out in the back and goes this way. And what I like about it is it's like this beach thing. This is across from the bay near where I live. This is a view from Swan Point Cemetery, which is an historic cemetery, and it has a ton of like Civil War vets, etc. in it. It's just really, really, it's a remarkable place for historical research and whatnot. And my kid absolutely loves going there because, history buffs, that's what happens. And so I'm going to draw in some of these leaves real quick. I don't want too many. I'm going to kind of draw in the structures, because I'll go in and I'll hone that up and kind of take ownership on that a little bit. It's saying my connection's good, so but I'm not getting any comments from anybody. So I don't know whether or not you guys are actually even seeing this. Let's check, shall we? So let's look on Facebook and see what we can see. Don't know if it's broadcasting there. Let's see here. So let's go to my page. My page. Let's see if I'm actually live on my page. And if so, what does that look like? You know what? I can't tell. So I'm just going to have to text a good friend and see if everything's okay on that end. So excuse me for 1 second. Alright, so let's see if he's actually watching today. If not, oh well. Alright, and then this is up here and loads of different things going on with this. I don't want to get too detailed on that because I'm going to be like really kind of like messing around there. So this one I do have to do the normal kind of like doing the blue in the background and that sort of thing. But what we're going to do is I'm going to use washes. So as you can see, I'm employing 2 palettes tonight. If I can get this one to actually come up. There we go. And on those palettes, I'm going to try to create the sky colors that I need to work with. I like a cobalt blue when I'm working with sky, but I only need a little because sky, when I make them, are mostly titanium white and little bits of blue to kind of create that color. But I'm going to need a lot of that blue. That's sky blue. So I'm going to take my palette knife tonight and kind of go in here with this. And the reason I kind of like the cobalt sometimes is just because it's got a deeper kind of royal blue color. So it all depends on what I'm trying to get at. And with this one, I've got not necessarily a perfect sky blue here, but oddly enough, I can see in that sky blue a little bit, just a little bit of green. So I'm going to grab a little bit of green from our other palette because, well, I've got it. I'm going to mix that in too. So that's a little bit of a permanent green in there. And now that's ending up to be more like the color I need it to. It's not something you generally think about. Like, what do you mean there's green in my sky? Well, very often it's got a little bit of a cream hue to it. A little bit of a green kind of feel to it. And what I'm going to do today is I think, no, you know what? That's not my expertise. I'm not going to do that. I was going to do like palette knife painting on here, and I'll be honest with you, not my thing. I did not enjoy that very much. So what I am going to do is I am going to work more on like a wash sort of thing going on here. I love working in washes. And it's going to be a rather thick wash to start with. That's not quite as bright as what we're looking at on the photo. That's okay. Because guess what? We're making the art, guys. It doesn't matter. We're making the art. And again, using kind of like a light wash here. Oh, that was full throttle. Oopsie. So there's going to be some of that gray shows through, and that's fine. I'm going to take some water, straight out water, and come right into this. Part of the reason for using washes is so I can see some of that sketch underneath. The other part is it's really easy to fluidly blend them when I'm using a wash. And the color that I have to blend here is white. I have to put white down the bottom and probably a little bit thicker blue at the top. So let's grab some white, just straight old-fashioned titanium white. Throw some of that right at the bottom of this and drag it up. Again, water it down just a little bit, make it a little bit more viscous. And I want to go over the tops of the trees on the bottom. And the reason why I want to go over the tops of the trees on the bottom is because, you know, the trees at the top are going to show through. The sky will show through them into the background. So I want to make sure that we are, you know, getting that see-through sort of thing with them. Be able to make it through. Now, again, this is also very painterly, which means that I'm going to see a lot of paint strokes in here. And again, I hope that this is coming through. It does keep pausing on me on my broadcast channel here, on my studio channel. So I'm really hoping this is coming through to you guys, mostly uninterrupted. Okay, my buddy's going to double check and see how that's working. Now, underneath, when we're talking about the water down here, that's got a lot more green in it. It's a lot brighter. Okay, and it's also actually got a lot more blue in it. Grab a little blue as well. And again, the cobalt is kind of a royal. It's a very, very strong blue. So I'm just going to add it in little bits now. Try to get that color of the bay, actually. Yes. Part of, I believe that's a part of Narragansett Bay. And, you know, really want to kind of like get that in there. There we go. So this kind of like blue-green thing going on as our first coat in here. And again, we're going to do a little bit overlapping and get this viscous, you know, kind of like a creamy sort of texture on this one. This is one of those landscapes that's really fun because it is, it's got a nice, heavy, exacting division to it. I really like that. It makes my life a lot easier, actually, when doing this. Still saying I got a good connection, but it doesn't appear on my screen that I am having a good connection at all. So if I'm choppy, guys, I'm sorry. I rectify that. I'm gonna have to stop and start again. Okay. So we've got this really nice bluish tint going on. And a tint, by the way, is different from a shade. It's a shade of blue. Okay, so it's got black in it. What? No. Yep. And if it's a shade, it's got black. If it's tint, it's got white. And if it's pastel, it's got both. Tips from color theory. So wasn't that exciting? Because that's about as far as we're going to get that right now. Sort of. I think I might put a little bit of more deeper blue in the sky. Not much deeper, but deep enough that it's going to make a change. Here a little bit, because we have this really nice royal blue at the top of the sky in the photo. I want to make sure that I get that in. That really typical kind of like sky blue. You can see cobalt's a little darker than, say, an ultramarine. So, again, this is also on a gray canvas that we're starting. You see some of the gray popping through. So it has its influence on what we're seeing and on what we're doing. And that's fine. That's kind of what I wanted to see. I want to see the influence of the gray through it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using washes. Right? I think with all the activity that's going on in the photo, that we're probably going to leave something. I think we're going to leave the sky cloudless, because if I put clouds in there, something tells me I'm going to regret it. It's going to be too much. I love painting clouds. If you've seen anything that popped up on Instagram lately, I'm really big into clouds. Love them, love them, love them. Palette knife just broke in half. I know that I'm getting, a clear picture coming in on my end on the top broadcast. I don't know what's going on the bottom one, on the one that's coming to you. It's just not coming through on HairFo for me, so I'm just worried. Ooh, Erica found me. Erica, can you tell me, how is the picture looking to you? Because I'm getting it kind of jaggy over here on my studio board. Okay, looks great. Okay, good. Then I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Ha ha ha. All right. The landscape's migrating. The landscape's migrating. Yes, it is. Don't worry, it'll be back. I put it precariously in my tub of paint. All right, so we've got the sky blue out here, and while we've got the sky blue out, I am going to try to put some of that up into our neighborhood back here. And we were working with like a full tilt paint on this. We're not working with anything watered down and wash-like. So that's where we're at here. And just get some sky tone in there. And this sky tone has, again, a little bit of green in it. So it does help us kind of like navigate through with the daylilies and the green that's present on them. Okay, cool beans. So no, I'm not going to just jump off of this one right now. Don't fret. Not a big deal. All right. Now, it's really nice to see. I got like 51 people looking at me now. Yay! Or at least have seen it, seeing it, however that works. 3 people on board that liked it. And I love when that happens. So while I have your semi-undivided attention, well, mostly divided maybe, I don't know, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe on whatever platform it is that you're actually seeing this. So if you happen to be watching on Haps, please subscribe. It's a fun platform. I like it a lot. If you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you might have just kind of like found me. Great, cool. Or you might already follow me. Even better. So follow me on one of the other channels that you're not watching this on. And that would help out so much. So again, if you want to help out see these things keep popping up, please go ahead and follow on whatever format it is that you're watching. And if you want to find me on another format, follow that format too. Tell your friends, your uncles, Auntie Gertrude, whatever. I jibber jabber a lot, but for the most part, it's usually kind of relaxing to sit here and watch. You can participate if you'd like to, and join me in the painting. Doesn't have to be. Okay. Here we go. Now I get some feedback coming in. Okay. looks like it's coming through for everybody except me. Ah, love that. All right. Again, I love daylilies. One of my favorite flowers. And I grow them. They're all over my property. And even when I don't want to grow them, they're all over my property. Because they're impossible to get rid of. And at one point I had so many, I had about 10 buckets full of daylilies, bulbs and blooms and plants that anybody could take. And, so a bunch of friends grabbed those because they run wild, and that's fine. I'm good with that. So right now, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing like a red underpaint on this thing. And the reason I'm kind of doing the red underpaint is because I want to see... Wait, I didn't even bring the lily picture up yet. Oh, I'm so bad. Let's bring the lily picture up. There she is. Lily picture. And I'm using this... I can never pronounce this. Nephthol Crimson. So it's actually like this really super rich red. It's like a Christmas red sort of thing. And what I am going to do, I am actually going to work a little bit of wet on wet here, as I said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my burnt umber. My favorite. I love burnt umber. It's kind of spooky and weird and funny. What you can do with this particular color, because it's a Gracie Pants color, and I love Gracie Pants colors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to start working in some of those deeper sections, which are going to get, kind of covered over as we go. But the reason I want to get them in with the burnt umber to start with is because those shadows are going to be really important for us to play with. Really super important. I want to make sure that I'm establishing those right off the bat so that I know where, the sections of this flower are that are going to come in and do their thing here. And like I said, what I love about like painting and everything is that this is going to keep changing as we go along and evolving and turning into different things. And so you're along for the ride, whether you like it or not. God, I sound like a dad. I'm adding a little bit of cadmium yellow here as I play around. I'm going to be using a couple different yellows today. The cadmium works for establishing some basic stuff, and then I'll be using Hansa yellow a little bit later on for detail. And again, I'm still working with this like gigantic freaking brush here on this. I'm going to grab my favorite tool. Those of you that have tuned in before know what my favorite tool is. Those of you that have not, now meet the paper towel. We love the paper towel because the paper towel helps us to create texture and do all sorts of funky things on our canvases. And my favorite color is generally, I like to use a lot of yellow ochre. I don't know why, I just do. But I'm just kind of like roughing this out a little bit right now. Just kind of like, and most of that stemmed from looking at the picture and seeing that, this section up here has so much yellow in it. And the last thing I want is this to be flat. I'm really kind of working on the realism version of this. It will be painterly to a point, but I do want to make sure that I focus on making it look, real when I'm working on this. One of the things that I think I should probably tell you guys is that I am going to be launching very shortly. I'm going to totally self-promote on here because guess what? It's my freaking broadcast. So there's no advertising except me. So I am going to be launching on my website, cartoonsandcreatures.com, in the processing of putting together an online store. If you are interested in any of the works that you see me create here, or even stuff that I, have already up on the web, feel free to check it out. I'll be launching it in the next month or so. We're going to end up with a full online store for fantasy artwork, cartoons, and fine art. So you'll see a lot of these things that we're working on right now popping into the fine art section. Okay. So I want to grab some of those really light lights that are going on in the background. Hello from Redmond, Shima. So nice to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you for subscribing. Subscribing is always what helps us out over here. I'm going to grab some of my green. I'm going to grab some of my yellow. I'm going to make something that's obnoxiously bright, and then I'm going to tint it down. Remember, tint, add white. Shade, add black or darker tones. Or some of my favorite combinations that make black, which we'll talk about in a little while. I'm not going to talk about it right now. Spoiler alert. I tend to not use black. I tend to use black for other things. Also, I don't like wasting paint off my palette knife. So I'm going to be working with the giant, grotesque, amazing brush right now. I love this brush because it's my getting out my frustrations brush. So I generally use this brush to kind of establish a base texture. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it like this, but what it does is it gives me somewhere to start from when I'm starting to create this. Now, what I love about working off of a photo like this is that I'm going to try to kind of mimic the photo a little bit, and I'm going to have the backside kind of blurry, and the front is going to be far more in focus. So I want to punch the front up a little bit, and how I do that is, I've got lots of methods with which to do that. So I'm going to grab handy dandy dagger brush, and Steve never had a handy dandy dagger brush. He only had a handy dandy notebook. And I'm going to kind of dagger brush around where I see in the picture that we've got some really beautiful highlights that are punching that forward. And so what that's going to do is give me that nice baseline to punch these other things forward. Because remember, we're looking at complementary colors here with some reds and some greens, but we don't want to be too forceful about it. And the reason why is because that's not the way this thing functions, right? That's not what we're looking at in the photo. And like I've been saying, I'm trying to get it to be relatively close to the photo. So we've got actually Daylily Bloom over here. Another one here. I'm just going to rough in for now. All right. And there's a little bit more white in this than I would want, but that's okay, because I'm going to start working in those yellows. Start bringing that sort of stuff in and really punch up those colors. Turn up the music a little bit. So I'm so happy you're all here hanging out with me. Like I said, we're going to be working on 2 paintings tonight. Woo-hoo-hoo! I missed 2 weeks, so I want to give you a good show. So what we're really going to do is, I'm going to be flipping between paintings. For those of you that are just tuning in, please subscribe either on Haps, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever platform you're watching this on. Please follow. I usually do this broadcast every Sunday. We were out the last 2 weeks, partially because of some wonderful family stuff going on in Mother's Day, and my amazing dad. It was his birthday, and it was one of the big decade ones, but I won't tell you which one because he'll get mad at me if I do that. But suffice to say, it was a big one, and we had a fun time celebrating it. My sister arranged this whole scheme of how we were going to do the gifts to represent every decade that he's been around. So we had a lot of fun with that, and I got to do some creative writing and yada yada yada. And he was touched and moved and laughed, all sorts of stuff, and it was a wonderful, wonderful little party. Wouldn't have missed it for the world. But I'm glad you are back to join me. Those of you that are coming back, those of you that are new to the platform, welcome, welcome, welcome. Certainly happy to have you along for the ride. And what a ride it is. A lot of fun stuff goes on right here. There are a lot of other if you are subscribed on Haps, there are a lot of other artists that have wonderful channels here that you should check out. Bobby Becker is the wonderful lady that introduced me to Haps, so check her out. She has Coffee with Bobby and a bunch of other things that she does in Haps quite frequently. She is just a fun artist to listen to. She has such knowledge and such love for art making, and she's really out to help a lot of people discover their potential, etc. So do subscribe to Bobby. I'm subscribed to her, so you can probably find out that way. Tanya, who is I cannot remember her last name for the life of me, but she goes by Miss Create, the number 8 is her handle. She is a graffiti artist who does fine art murals using graffiti tactics and techniques, and she's phenomenal. On here, there's a whole bunch of other artists that you can discover just by looking around and searching here on Haps for them. I'm going a little off the rails here on this, and I'm just kind of like tapping through with what I feel like doing. Ooh, listen to that. It's like whales on my... Really not following any rhyme or reason here, but I'm looking at it now, and pro tip, I'm at the point where I hate the art. And I think anybody who does art can probably relate to this. Any art professional, that you hit this halfway mark in your artwork, you really hate it, and you just want to not touch it anymore. And that's where I am right now, looking at this, and I'm like, no, I have to keep plugging forward, I promise. So here I am. I'm going to keep working on the floral. Doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy it, but I will eventually enjoy it. I promise it will get better. And that's the fun part about this, is that it does eventually get better. Thank you for your vote of confidence. It's one of those things where I'm looking at it all flawed and everything. And I can see the 1,000 things that I've done wrong, or that I think are wrong, and they're probably not. And I'm just being hypercritical of myself. And that's fine. I know I'm going to plow through it. Thanks, Ray. Yay. I know. If it makes me feel uncomfortable, I shouldn't do it. Well, screw that. I'm going to do it anyway. Something I tell my kids, my students, is you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that doesn't mean you should just suck it up and deal with it when somebody's making you uncomfortable. What it means is that you need to push yourself, and you need to experiment, and you need to try different things that might make you uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable, like seriously uncomfortable where you're having problems, but things that you look at and go, oh, I don't know if I can do that, and you've got that discomfort, not trusting yourself. You got to do it anyway. Just get comfortable with what's not going to work. And it pertains to acting students quite a bit, because they have to do and be things that they aren't. And it's really hard with, I work with a lot of teenagers mostly, and to work with teenagers who are still trying to discover themselves and have them try to discover the truth of a character at the same time, oh my God. It's like, self-discovery inception here. It's not easy for them. And I really feel for them when I'm demanding them to do certain things, but I try to make it so that it all works. I realize you guys aren't watching me on my palette a lot, and I'm really bad at that. I do that a lot. So what I'm doing right here is, zoom in on that for a second. I'm kind of too much light, too much shine. Okay, give me 1 second. I need two hands to turn off that light. There we go. Okay. Let me turn on that one. Color change LEDs. Really bad idea while you're trying to just manipulate it with your hand while you're painting. So yeah, there's a high sheen on these, so I'm sorry if you can't see this perfectly, but what I'm doing is I put down some darker tones, I put down some mid-tones, and now I'm putting in the light tones so that I'm carrying forward a light coming from the top, coming down to the bottom. And what that's going to do is that implies that there's light coming from the top, so I'm trying to get that understood. And again, I want those to be vague back there. I want this to be out of focus. This is going to be hyper focused, just like the photograph. And here's a section that I can tell you I really screwed up on, even though you might be looking at it going, it's fine. I'm not seeing that it's fine. I don't like it. And so I need to fix. And what I'll do is I'll bring in some Theta Saline, I'll bring in some yellow. I don't know why I can't say the end name in the crimson, but I can say Theta Saline until the cows come home. Don't know why. Pull back a little bit. Now, I know you might not be able to see this, but I'm stopping this far into the canvas because I've actually got tape around here, and then I've got a section of tape going 2 bars this way. And what that's going to become is like a window frame. That's where the new series has been going, is making almost very, well, not almost, but I've been making windows. And so one of the things I want to emphasize is that I am kind of like, I'm trying to do follow through strokes into those areas, but I also know that those areas are going to get pretty much eliminated in the final product. So now I'm grabbing a script liner. Yay, script liner! And that's what's going to help me get these done. The thing about a script liner is, and I'll show you what I have to do with this thing. Okay, with a script liner, not necessarily dance around and grab other colors, but the whole purpose of a script liner is to be able to make basically script. You're supposed to be able to write with the thing. And you're probably going, no, that's not what that's for. That's what this is for, right? No. This tiny little brush with this tiny little head, where you can barely see anything, that is just going to goof you up the entire time you're doing it. But this, with this nice, long, luscious section that you can play with, this is what makes thin lines. So that's what this is used for. That's where the script liner becomes an essential tool. I love my script liners. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't try to make any paintings without them. I have some for watercolor, I have some for oils, and I have some for acrylics. Yes, I have 3 sets of brushes. Why do you have 3 sets of brushes? I have 3 sets of brushes because the 3 different mediums don't always play well together in the sandbox. So if your tools are being used for all of them, particularly transferring from oils to any water base, it gets kind of hairy and not so fun. And things start to repel. It's just a big fat mess. So I have different tools for different jobs. It's just like, anything else. You don't put a screw in with a hammer, right? Same thing here. You're not going to paint with oil-based paints with something that you would use for a watercolor. And they actually sell, when you're looking at brushes and you're looking to maybe invest in brushes, you'll look and say, well, what's the difference between this one and this one? It's the material they're made out of. It's how they are arranged in the fairing, which would be this right here, fairing. There's a lot of different things to it. Now, watercolor and acrylic brushes, yes, you can kind of like, cross those over. They're fine. It's not like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. They will work and not blow up the world. But oil and water will go together like, well, oil and water. So you want to kind of avoid that combo. Now, getting rid of this linear, I grabbed a little water. I'm just going to smudge it right here. And then while that's slightly wet, I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow. And just bring in the yellow. I might have to white that out. Tint that. Yep, there we go. Tint that out a little bit. And kind of make it slightly fuzzy on the edges. Because again, I don't want these to be as in focus as the flower. I'm probably looking at it going, well, the flower's not in focus at all. That's right, it's not yet. It will be, though. I'll get it. This music is so relaxing. You know what I really need? I really need some of those amazing musicians that are on Clubhouse. Love listening to musicians on Clubhouse. What would be really cool is, one of these weeks I'm going to try to get somebody to come in and do like live DJ or something. Get somebody to do some like really trance stuff. That'd be cool. I'll find somebody. Also, if you have music that's particularly instrumental that you would like to be playing in the background of one of these broadcasts, I'm always open to having new artists play. I have a dear friend, Andre Sals, who has released a couple of albums, both of which I've played on here when we're working, as amazing background music to the fun. So if you know of an artist, have an artist that does particularly instrumental work and would like to have people hear it while they're watching bald madman paint, then by all means, I'd love to have them. You can have them DM me on Instagram. It's usually the best way to DM me. I'd be happy to talk to them and take a listen to their work and help get their stuff out there. Not that I'm intensely famous with this stuff, but every little bit helps. I will say I do ask that everything is family friendly, though. Okay, as soon as I'm done, I just got a few more things to do here on this to get this bumped up a little bit. And then I'm going to let this all dry and come back to this in a little bit. And we're going to go back to the landscape painting because, well, I got all the greens set up already. Might as well use them. I'm going to start working on that in between horizon. And like I said, I'm going to be on extra time tonight because we are working on a couple pieces, but also because I don't have to run anywhere tonight. In past, I've had to take off right at the bell, but tonight not so much. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab the 10 by 20 inch canvas that we're working on instead of the 10 by 10. Ooh, look how pretty! Back up for that one. It's delightful. Now, we're not going to paint the flower there, so I got to get rid of that flower off of our thing. There we go. Oh, that's what we're painting. That's right. We're painting a lovely pastoral scene looking through some trees. And no, it's not like a paint night where the trees are going to just be black. No offense to anybody who does paint nights. I did them for a long time. I grew to really despise doing paint nights. There's nothing like a whole bunch of, lewd people. Molly B is here! Molly! Good to see you. Molly is a constant fan. I've seen her every time I've done this. Thank you for coming in, Molly. It's so nice to see you. You're late. That's okay, you're late. It's not a big deal. We're working on 2 pieces tonight, so there's plenty of time to have fun in the Draw and Paint Club. No biggie. So let's get a... what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take and bring in the Theta Saline, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of Burnt Umber. I'm going to do the baseline of this. Of this forest across the way, the wooded area. And again, I'm using my dagger brush. And the reason why I'm using my dagger brush is so that I can get a decent kind of line going on here. It also lets me hit, if I use it the other way, a nice thick portion if I were to use it this way. See? And I want to make sure that I've got that at the ready. Whoop, 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 whoop. Our favorite tool is needed. Stat. No worries, this is why we let that section dry. And I've got to do some reflective stuff, and there's going to be some interference from some trees and whatnot in there in just a moment. So a lot of this is the phthalo, almost pure phthalo. But in order to get it really dark, I do put in some burnt umber. And the reason why I do that on this is because just like the last thing that we were working on, just like in the flower picture, you know, or in some of the pieces that I've done lately, if you've looked at my Instagram lately, the studying copper, the bottom of the forest and studying copper is just really, really, really dark. It's like super dark. And the reason it is because it establishes that base where all the trunks and whatnot are, where the deeper foliage is, and where all the shadows are, right? So that's where we're at with that. Okay, here we go. This is not one of the new series, although it easily could be. It's not. It wasn't originally intended to be. It may be. I might do a frame on it later. Again, I'm working on studies on that, so I'm using oil acrylic. I am using acrylic this evening. I know I was using oil a while back with kind of like the space-oriented one. I still haven't finished that, by the way. It's still hanging out in my other studio, and awaiting my return. And I don't know. I've been rocking it out on the realism lately, so and I've been trying to work a little bit quicker, so acrylics are definitely more the speed of that. Now, once again, I'm going to use, this brush here to be able to like throw up. That was rude and juvenile, Jay. I know. All right, as long as you've established it. Thank you. Yes, I do talk to myself during this. A lot. Working here wet on wet also helps because it establishes that midtone really, really simply and easily. And it's going to give me the start of the tops of these. My palette is super messy right now. It's so much fun. I'm not generally a messy person, except when I paint. When I paint, I'm a very messy person. Not with the paint itself, like I'm very careful not to drop it on floors or anything like that. I really hate picking it up in that sort of scenario. And part of that's my scenic design background. I really don't like picking up stuff and fixing, like say I don't want to trash the floor because I have to paint the floor usually too. And so these are like the big chunky sections, and then we're going to have to do some smaller, lighter sections. The good part about this is at this point, this is way out of focus. And that's kind of how we want it. We want it way out of focus because it's not something that we need to be focused on, That made absolutely no sense, but I hope you understood what I meant by that. It's not the focal point of the composition. It's not where I want the person's eye to land when we're working on this. I really want them to land at a different section. I might have to let that dry because it's not behaving the way I want it to. And I don't want to break out the hairdryer right now. Not because I'm lazy, but because it's flippin' loud. Yes, thank you, Molly. I think everybody should have 13-year-old boy moments every once in a while. And as you can tell, this is kind of like a slow process. So I'm very happy that, and I think I might do this more often, is working on multiple pieces on the same night because I'm going to have to take this and sort of shut it down a little bit so that this can dry because I'm painting over it with another layer, but it looks like I might be able to get it to the point where I can paint over it shortly, because I can paint over here and here. I'm a sucker for trees. I love painting trees. I don't know why. And no, it's not because they're happy. Trees are very unhappy. They walk around, they give us all this air, and then we just kind of like snub our nose at them. Don't get me started on a bunch of environmental stuff. It's not a good idea. As I sit here and paint with liquid plastic. What a conundrum. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm a painter and I'm an environmentalist, and so I paint with liquid plastic. Oh crap. I paint with oils. Toxic. That's the trade-off, Ray. Yes. Yeah, Erica, I know that not letting them know the mistakes is great, except for the fact that I sit here and I'm broadcasting the mistakes and the successes. Although I will say this, one of the things that's helpful to me as an instructor, particularly dealing with the pandemic and everything, is I edit the videos obviously when they go out, before they go out to the kids. But one thing that I try to do is I do try to incorporate and make sure that some of my errors are in there. I want to see them see me screw up, because then I get to teach them how to fix it. And it's hard. It's hard to fix stuff. And that's, I think, why a lot of people who are learning how to paint have problems with it, because then they can't fix it and they get disappointed and they get pissed off and they go ahead and they just give up. And I think that somebody ate my burnt umber. Yep, somebody ate my burnt umber. Damn it, Bailey! For those of you that don't know him, Bailey is my beagle, who is sleeping in a little bed next to me. It's so cute. I turned the camera, but he's kind of in the dark right now in the back of the office. You guys are in my office right now. So I'm breaking out another funky tool that I love. The sword liner. And we're going to grab some of the burnt umber and a little phthalate green. And we are going to make basically what I'm doing with the sword liner is I use it like a pinstriper. Pinstripers are usually, they have sword liners. Their sword liners are really short in the base, so they cannot hold it here. You can only hold a pinstriper's sword blade down like this. It usually doesn't even touch the crook of your crook in between your finger and your thumb. With this, not necessary for me to do that. The reason why these brushes are crucial for me is because they hold a massive amount of paint. If you make it the right viscosity, they hold quite a bit of paint, and you can draw lines, for a very long time with them. Harkening back to paint nights, I actually used to have like a really bad dad joke with Paint Nice whenever I had people making lines, because the main demographic was usually women, and usually in their 40s or 50s. And I'd usually start out, if we were doing any linear work, with, okay, we're going to do some lines, just not like the 80s. That is good that she left in that klutzy stuff. That's great. I love that. Beagles eating rollings. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they do. My guys are pretty good. They do roll around in junk. They do eat things that they rather did not. But they're pretty good about it. They get distracted easy. All I have to do is yell blueberries, and all of a sudden they come running. It's one of the things I do is my dogs get snacks that are like fruits and vegetables, green beans, blueberries, apple, carrots. Not so much carrots anymore. They're older now. They're having a hard time digesting stuff like that. But the rest of it's good. Oh yeah, and their favorite, sweet potatoes. And the sweet potatoes. Try not to do dog treats. And my guys end up pretty, slender and muscular, and they're in really good shape. My 16-year-old still runs away from me. And 16-year-old beagle, if you don't treat them right, they're kind of like little pudge balls that just kind of wobble around. And he still looks like a hunting dog that's ready to go out and grab himself a rabbit. In fact, he frequently does get distracted by rabbits and try to get them, so you never know. You want your money back from what? Wait a minute, what money? Drop It's a good one. I remember when my younger beagle decided that bringing a live possum into my house was a good idea. Okay, we're going to let that midsection dry a bit and go back to our floral. Yeah, that was not too pleasant, and neither my wife or I were home, and her kids were here, and they were all teenagers at the time, so it was kind of an interesting little brouhaha going on there. Oh, the lines joke? Yeah, sorry, dude. Worse things happened on Paint Nights. All right, I'm going to get back to our lovely flower here, which means I have to switch over my reference picture. And I'm actually going to flip screens for myself here so that I can go ahead and I need a better view of it. We're working on details. Out there for a little bit, guys. Sorry. Black right in the middle of that stuff. While trying to kind of like flip this around a little bit. I'm going to try to look at a larger version of this while I'm painting. Pilfer Vegetable Garden and Strawberry Patch. Yeah, that sounds kind of beaglish. All right, we're going to grab that cadmium yellow again. Throw down a little bit of cadmium, which, by the way, cadmium is not the nicest substance, and I don't recommend getting real cadmium and handing it to a child. Bad idea. Just saying. It's sort of toxic and not really nice. So we kind of, long exposure to cadmium is not recommended. And yes, I do use cadmium. And so why do I still use cadmium? They actually make cadmium now without cadmium in it. I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? But they've made the hue chemically so that it doesn't have to have cadmium in it. But some people still like the cadmium, so they offer both types. You can buy it with or without actual cadmium. So, kind of like going to a burger joint and, you know, like I never understood if you're going to a burger joint why you would order a non-meat burger, because you know it's just going to be nasty. If I want a non-meat burger, I'm going to go to a joint where I know they're making it. And that sucker is like chefed and really done right. Part of the reason I love painting florals is because of the tremendous amount of detail that are in them. And I don't know why, but I've always been very detail oriented. Even when I was making abstract paintings for a little bit, I was just getting super detailed on them. Like I just loved to incorporate as much detail as I possibly could. I don't know why. I just did. Really loved it. Right now I'm starting to play with the light a little bit. But I don't want to get too concentrated on it right now, because if I do, what's going to happen is I'm going to fall into a trap that a lot of people do, because it's easy to fall into, where you start overworking one area and you're not working on the whole painting. You're working on this one section because you get really, really excited or obsessed about it. And it either gets overworked or other sections get neglected, and then trying to match them. This is where it all comes to a head. Trying to match them and get the other sections to be as thought about as that sometimes becomes problematic. So it's like if you take and you do a drawing or a painting by finishing, like not working on the whole thing at one time, but by completely finishing one section at a time, sometimes it ends up looking inconsistent by the time you're done. It doesn't all work together as a unit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to go ahead and allow it to work together as one, even though they're disparate parts from each other. It's still really important that they speak to each other really, really well, and that they're all worked in the same way. So working all over your painting at once is better for your painting and for yourself than trying to finish up one section at a time. And I know everybody has a different way that they like to do things. That's great, but I'm telling you, you can tell when somebody starts from one section and moves off to another and has completed it, because it looks more like a jigsaw than a piece that's speaking to itself all the way through. Oh, of course that happens in ceramics. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. Trying to keep work cohesive is a big challenge, because let's face it, artists, we get a little bit excited about what we're doing, and if something's going right, we want to keep going with it. I want to keep going with it if it's going right. Hell, almost feels like that doesn't happen that often, so I'd really like to make it go. Pardon the sniffle, guys. It's getting to be that time of night where my cats start getting to me because my allergy meds are wearing off. Okay. Yep. Need some of this to dry before I can move back to it again. You know what that means? That means we switch over to landscape. Floral landscape, floral landscape. Yay! Okay. So we're back to the landscape. Okay, time to get some of those trees in the front there. Basically, we want to start breaking the horizon line. Wait a minute, what did I do? That was dumb. I tried to get it out of my way. So now that this is a little bit more dry, I'm going to add some more highlights in these trees with one of my roughed up, nasty brushes. Because, well, it's roughed up and nasty. And so I can do that. I mean, you see along the top line of the trees, there's a lot of, kind of like a brighter yellow attachment to that. certain spots more than others. The thing to remember is that, when you're painting like a giant tree line or something like this, oh, look at that. Gee, I touched my canvas. Ah! Had a whole discussion about that the other day. About touching one's canvas. I always touch my canvases. I'm horrible. I really don't care. One thing I won't do is touch a light bulb in theater. They explode when you do that. It's fun. So what I was saying is it's really important to remember when you are, doing a treescape or something like that, you're not dealing with a single tree, even though, the entities out in that scape are pretty bold and large. You have to remember that you have a whole bunch of different trees, even though it looks like it's like one giant unit. It's really, really not. So it's a good point to keep in mind that, these are lots of living things. And so it's like showing a crowd of people, you're just showing a crowd of trees. So there's different lines, different heights that you're playing with. It's not as simple and clear cut as I'm going to make a line of green here. Not so much. Oh no! I touched my canvas again. I don't care. I'm being a rebel. That's about as rebellious as I get. It's kind of pathetic, but yeah, that's the way I roll. Which is really, again, sort of pathetic, but that's okay. All right, so now that looks a lot more kind of like, it looks like sun is hitting it. It looks like there is some life to that. So now we can start really thinking about how we are going to create the trees that are taking up so much of this room. And part of that is going to be using, again, that sword brush that I have. It really does come in handy quite a bit. It's very, very useful in a variety of ways. And the reason why is because you don't have to necessarily use it just as a liner. It's big enough that you can grab a line and you can do a thick to thin line with it, which is really helpful when you're doing something like a tree or anything that has a variation in the line. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to look at the tree that is, like right here. Starts over here. And I'm going to actually start up top. Now what I need to do is I need to take the sword and I need to go ahead and thin that out as much as I can. Then I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to drag the line, and as the line goes down, I'm going to tilt the sword a little bit. And what that does is that widens the line and turns it into a nice big section that we have over there. Ooh, I just get that whole Bob Ross feeling / vibe from doing that. I want to do that again. Let's do it again anyway, because I need it to be more brown. now comes the fun part. These things branch off, but this particular one is branching off another tree out here. And as much as, we like to think of branches as like taking turns, they usually don't take giant turns. Well, it depends on the tree, really, but I find that most of the trees that I do, like, yes, the branches can be organic, but they have a scope to them. I mean, a straightness to them. Scope. Let's just insert any word that doesn't make any sense and people will think I'm talking artsy. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. There's an amount of either bravery or complete insanity. I will say there's a lot of trust to it, though. Trusting in your instinct. Especially with something like this. It's not simple, and there's nothing like. That's the other thing. Like when you're painting trees, by the way, trees are constantly changing, right? They're growing new branches all the time. Other branches are falling off. It's never going to be the same as when you saw it when you were either doing your study or taking your photograph. Especially a tree that's not an evergreen. Like evergreens, you can get away with a lot, but when you're talking about like this tree in particular, that's wispy. That picture was taken like 3 years ago. I don't know what this tree would look like now, but I know it doesn't look like this anymore. And if somebody wants to go out and try to find it and be like, you painted it wrong because you did this, that person really does not need to be around my art at all. I am not that precise. I do not want to be that precise. I want to look like I'm seeing a tree. It doesn't have to be that tree. It doesn't even have to remotely remind me of that tree. In this case, I like the wispy tree, so I'm going to try to imitate as much of it as I can. Ugh. Now, I haven't said this in a while, so I'm going to say it. If you have not subscribed, please do so on whatever platform it is that you are viewing this. So if you're on YouTube, go right ahead. And if you are already subscribed on Haps, fabulous. If you are not subscribed on Haps, please do. And you've also got the option of doubling up your ability to see these events and come and enjoy them if you go ahead and subscribe to multiple services that I have on here. We are being seen currently on YouTube, on Facebook, both on my Facebook page and my personal page. And you've got lots and lots of ways that you can stream this. It's also on Twitch. On YouTube is one of the best because it also records it. So you can tune in if you miss anything, or if there was a particular portion where you're just like, especially if you're painting along and there's a particular portion where you're looking at it and you're like, I just didn't get how he did that. Well, you can watch it a few times and get the gist of how that's being done. Now, I have to say this when I'm working on this, just as a pointer. I'm using very, very, very little pressure. Like, I'm barely pressing down when I'm doing this, and that is what is keeping it thin and consistent. I'm literally just dragging the paint. I'm dragging the line. Okay. As soon as you start pressing down, you'll change the thickness and the ability to have control over it. Again, I'm holding the brush not at the tip, and most of these lines are going to get covered anyway. That's put leaves. But for the ones that stick out, they're pretty vital. You know, they're the ones that people will look at and see that tree. You know? Oh, thank you, Erica, and thank you, Erica's son. Hopefully you come back next week. We'll probably be finishing these things up at that point, or I'll be starting something new. All right, it's almost 8 o'clock. We've been at this for a couple of hours now, everybody. So I'm planning on just going a little bit further with this one. I will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue these next week. Purposely not finish them up. I am going to go ahead and bite the bullet and not do I have a tendency to want to like just finish the stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and promise not to finish these. I'm gonna put them away for the week. So that I can come back to them fresh next Sunday. And we can work on the leaves in the front here, and we'll work on the details on our lovely daylily right here. And we'll finish up both paintings next week and go from there. Okay? So, 2 hours I think is pretty good. I'm going to hang around still. I'm going to keep painting. Maybe for another 15-20 minutes just so I don't waste all this lovely paint that's on my palette. You are welcome to hang around. I would love if you hang around. If not, and you want to see how things turned out, you can check out YouTube, where it'll be recorded. It'll also be recorded on Facebook. That's a little bit harder to find. And that's about it. So I'm just going to shut up and paint. I'm starting to screw up. So 2 hours on detail work without my threshold. Definitely starting to screw up. So this is kind of therapeutic. Painting trees. I'm not even on the good part yet. Just making these lines totally random. No heightened expectation of it being correct. You just have to be there. You can see how if you just vary off pressure just a little bit, kind of the line widens. Somebody's home. Just heard a beep. Oh my gosh, I didn't actually look at my fingers. Yay! I'm all painty. All right, everybody. I lied. 15-20 minutes more is not going to happen because I am starting to fade here on the ability to keep straight lines running. And even under plastic wrap, I don't think that this palette would last a week. It's supposed to be a warm week, so I am going to have to suck it up, let the palette dry out, and we'll try to match the colors again next week. But they're pretty simple formulas. I don't think I'll have a big deal, but I'll leave it on here anyway, just in case. And as I say, or I'm known to say, at the end of a broadcast, stay safe, stay healthy, and make art. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.